Yes, I'm a communist with a capital C.
Well, I don't.
Why not?
Because there's no freedom of speech, there's no due process, and it's just all police state.
For example?
China.
Yeah, give examples.
If you say anything against the government, you will go to jail.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
That's actually not true.
I have family members in jail, actually.
And
For that.
all they did, what did they say? To go to jail.
I can give you a few names, but not all of them.
Don't give me names. Don't give names. Don't give names.
Okay, one of them is an artist. All he did was make art, and he went to jail for it.
What art did he make?
You want to search him up? He's pretty famous.
No, I don't. I'm just asking you, like,
He's
what
not
was
a
the...
family member, so it's
I'm
all
just
good,
asking
dude.
you what was the context?
He made satire against the communist government.
Okay, so he was disrespecting the government.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it's okay to disrespect the government and not be jailed for it.
Well, China disagrees. If you disrespect the leaders
And
of the
which
country,
I disagree. That's why I don't like it.
well, that's just Chinese society. That's always been the case in China. You could never disrespect the emperor. You can't disrespect the leaders. Yeah, that's true for a lot of Asian countries.
Yeah, I understand that, but it doesn't make it okay.
It's well, that's China, dude. That's the context of that society. It means something different in that society. You know, in those societies, people don't just run their mouth for no reason. When you say something in public, it has to have meaning. It has to be for a reason, right? And
I mean, that doesn't need to be
we
the
don't we don't
case.
we don't
It
have
is the
any we don't
case.
really have free speech here either, though. You know, there's a lot of things you say
We
that's
do
gonna.
have the freest speech in any country in Earth
That's
right
not
now
true.
in the
That's
United
not true.
States. Yes.
That's not true. We
Which
all,
country has more free speech than the United States of America?
Sweden.
Why? Why do they have more speech than the U.S.?
Because Sweden, for example, doesn't, and this is true for many other European countries, they don't really have big religious sensibilities or conservative cultural sensibilities. So people just say things that don't lead to any public outrage or any problems or whatever, and they're free to do that.
I mean,
And by the way,
free
I'm a
speech is
conservative.
fine.
I don't actually believe people should be able to just. Well, legally, it's a different thing, right? But every society has limits to the amount of speech that it allows. Some societies punish it legally, other societies punish it socially, but there's no such thing as a society that has so-called absolute freedom of speech.
I mean, it's fine to be punished socially, but legally, for going to jail for it, I don't think that's
Well,
okay.
what about cases of whistleblowers like Julian Assange?
Well, I say free him, so
You want him to be freed?
yeah.
But you see that the U.S. also has red lines as far as
Because
the amount of speech that it tolerates.
You know, it's the government. I'm more of a limited government type of guy.
Yeah, I am
So-
too. I am too because I'm an American and I live in America. But you can't go and impose. You can't go and impose that on other
Wait, so
countries.
you're an American, you like limited government, but then you're also trying to be a communist, which
Yeah.
is the opposite of limited government.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
China's socialism is government everything, dude.
No,
Government in terms of economic
no,
policy,
no.
government in terms of social
Communism is
policy.
about making the government serve the people and work for the people.
That's what every fucking political party says, dude.
No, well, it's not true though.
I could say the same for any party, dude, that I disagree with. You can say that for anything.
You know what communism means?
You want to give me a better definition?
No, the word, like where it comes from, communism. Like, what does that mean?
Not really. No.
So
I don't know
what's
where it
the
came from.
common in communism is the common good. That's what it means.
Okay, I guess it's not happening.
Where it's not happening in China, where they've lifted more people out of
It doesn't
poverty.
mean if the name communism came from the common good, it means it's a good
Yeah,
thing.
but I'm telling you, that's why we say communism means the government works for the people. It works to develop the forces of production to uplift the people
Wait,
uplift their living standards, uplift their level of acculturation, so they have more access to culture, and they're just more.
okay, I agree with you on the culture like aspect, but in terms of economics, when the government owns the means of production, it's the politicians who have the money, not the people.
Is that true in China?
Yes, I'm from China.
So in China, only the politicians have money.
Well, all the billionaires are basically politicians when they become billionaires.
They're not. They're not politicians. They
CCP.
become controlled by the party. They're not politicians.
Yes.
Well, that's good though, because here the billionaires control our politicians, and in China, the government controls the billionaires. So which one would you rather have?
I'd rather have the American version.
Where our government's
I'd rather have the government not getting in my way
to do what?
to do anything, dude. I
Like
don't
give
want
an
them
example.
telling me
What
to
what are some things that as an American you have the liberty to do that you can't do in China?
There's free speech. There's no due process. You can
Wait,
go
hold
to
on,
court.
hold on.
You can get jailed in
So
China
but
for no reason.
hold on. I thought we
and
were
they can
talking
just
about
put you in jail.
economics. I thought we were talking about economics.
There's many. There's a lot more to just economics, dude.
Okay, so we're not talking about economics anymore. So okay, free
Okay,
speech.
we
What
can-
do you
we can
what
go
do you
with
want?
everything.
Okay, here's my
Anything.
question to you. What do you want to say in China that you're not allowed to?
Fuck Xi Jinping.
Why?
If I'm
But
a
hold on.
citizen, I
Okay,
filmed
hold on.
that. I posted
But
it on
okay,
their
okay, hold
YouTube.
on, hold on.
I would
Let
go
me
to
let me
jail.
roll it back. Let me roll it back. Given what Xi Jinping represents in China and what he means for the Chinese people in China, the question then stands: why are you saying that?
I believe that all politicians believe in a greater good, even though I disagree with some.
No,
Even
I'm
in the
asking you
United
why.
States,
Why do you
they're all
want to
trying
say
do good.
fuck Xi? Why do you want to disrespect China's leader? Why?
He's more of a dictator. So
Okay, but
I don't believe in
what's your
dictators
issue
too.
with him? Why do you want to say fuck Xi?
I mean, I have an issue with the CCP.
Okay, but
I just don't believe in their policies.
But here's the issue. So I'm going to show you why it's paradoxical to me. You said the only real consistent reason you gave that you don't like their policies is that they don't give you the free speech. And you said you want the free speech to say fuck them. So now I'm asking you,
And
why are you...
I don't believe in socialism too.
What does that mean practically in China?
I mean, China is not a socialist economy. Just saying, they're still really capitalist.
Wait, if China's not socialist, then why do you hate the CCP? If the reason for hating them is that you hate socialism.
Is an up and coming country. They have admitted that they need capitalism.
Okay, but then okay, hold on. I disagree with you, but I'm asking you for your reasons why you hate the Communist Party. And the reason you gave was because
I think free speech is my number one.
Okay, then let me explain to you why it's a paradox then, okay? Because if free speech is pretty much your only issue with it,
it's not the only, it's the biggest. Let's
just say it's the biggest to save time. If free speech is your biggest issue with them, and I ask you, what do you want the free speech to say? And you say, I want to be able to say fuck the CCP. And then I ask you, why do you want to say fuck the CCP? And then you say it's because the CCP doesn't let me say fuck CCP. But why do you want to say that?
Because it's called a fundamental freedom that you have.
But why? Freedom to do what? What's the reason?
To do anything.
Don't you think freedom should be rational? Why?
Freedom is rational.
But you're not giving me a reason why you want to say and disrespect China's leader in China.
Disrespecting China's leader is an example.
But to what ends? What is the ends of that? What goal do you want to fulfill by doing that? Is there a reason you're saying it, or you just want to do it for its own sake?
I think free speech is good for innovation. It's good for the economy.
Okay, hold on. We can.
Better.
I don't think there's any examples of speech that contribute to innovation that China clamps down on. When you say fuck the leader of this country, hold on. In China, when you are saying, listen, in China, when you are saying fuck Xi, you're challenging the government, and that assumes you have yourself something better in mind, right? So what do you want in China that makes you say...
I'm not a politician, so...
So why do you just want to be able to say fuck Xi for the same reason that people want to draw?
Fuxi is one of the examples.
So is it basically like how South Park wants to be able to draw Muhammad, or how some people want to just say the N word and it's just for its own sake?
South Park is banned in China, so
I'm glad. But why? So this is like people who just want to draw Muhammad for no reason, or just people who want to say the N word for no reason, right?
yeah,
You don't
I
have a
believe you
reason.
can draw whatever the fuck you want.
But
Why
you
not?
and you shouldn't have to have a reason for the things you do in public, right?
What was that? Sorry.
You shouldn't have to have a reason for the things you're doing in public, right? You should just do it for its own sake.
I mean, anybody has their own choice of saying whatever they want. It's their choice. I don't really care. Sometimes I can disagree with what they say, but it's their
Hold on,
choice, dude.
but
That's the whole
let
point
me
of
tell you
freedom.
something. In China, you do have the freedom to say what you want. You're just not free from the consequences of your actions. You disrespect the leader of a country, then the country is going to punish you in some kind of way. That's how China works.
Yeah, which I don't agree with. So that's why I'm here.
I hold on. You don't agree with it for China or for America? Because for America, I don't agree with it either. But China's a different country with
Well,
a
I'm a
different
Chinese
meaning.
citizen, so
You're a
do I not
Chinese
get a
citizen?
say? Yes.
Okay, so you're a Chinese citizen. Then why debate me about it? Why not take it up with the Chinese people who are the ones that allow the CCP to rule in the first place?
Because the Chinese Communist Party does not allow dissent. They don't allow anybody that thinks differently than them.
So do you have, but you just said you're not a politician, so you don't even have an alternative to the CCP to present to the Chinese people.
There is no alternative.
So if there's no alternative, then go. Who are you debating with then? You just want to complain at no one and piss in the wind? If there's no alternative,
I'm just trying to debate how communist is not a good system. I'm not trying to debate you
hold on,
that like I'm gonna
but you just
cause a
said
revolution in
China's
dude.
not socialist and not communist, that it's capitalist.
The economy is a market socialist economy. Yes,
Okay, so it's socialist.
it's a socialist market economy.
Okay, so if you're against socialism, wouldn't China be the worst example of saying socialism is a failure because it's the premier economic powerhouse of the world in 2021?
China and the United States are neither pure capitalistic nor pure socialistic.
I
So
agree, but you
it's
just
hybrid.
told me China's socialist.
In terms of policy, yes.
So
You're trying to
you
get
don't
back to
think
economics,
do
dude.
you think
Economics
China's
is one part.
so
but-
do you think China's
Right.
socialist policies had anything to do with China's rise as the world's premier power?
Socialist policies.
Yeah, do you think that maybe
Not-
that those have been instrumental in China's rise?
I think there are many factors that cause economy to grow. It could be one of them, yes.
You think it's well, India's a capitalist country with a similar population size as China, and India is light years behind where China is, right? So it seems like it's the instrumental reason for why China has grown to the status that it has.
Like I said, there are many factors in why economy may be greater in a country compared to another. Not just one. You're trying to say it's because of this one reason it's better. No.
I think I would insist that it is the main reason for China's success.
Okay, I don't agree with you.
What do you think the main reason is?
I think China just opened their economy sooner.
India's economy has been open for a very long time.
Not more than China.
Yes, it has. Actually, it has been open to
And
foreign investment.
maybe Indian culture is also different than Chinese culture. That
So,
may have an impact.
but Taiwan and other cultures that are similar to Chinese culture have been stagnating.
Taiwanese economy is great.
Taiwan does have a good economy, but it's been stagnating and slumping recently.
Yeah, because they're a fucking little island, dude.
Well, I don't know. Then what is it? It's like, what are you trying to say? The South Korea is stagnating. Japan's been stagnating. I know they're not the same culture, but they're East Asian.
China's
cultures.
stagnating now too. You know what's happening?
No, it's
with
not.
the markets
China-
right now.
China has been growing. It's not growing as much as it used to.
But yeah, if you're in
but the
finance,
government is
you know
taking-
that
but the-
Chinese market is stalling.
It's
Look at
not.
all their stock.
It's not
Look at
stalling.
Alibaba.
It's not stalling. It's just that there's a reform going on that's going
Yes,
to actually.
there's a restructuring. Yes.
Yeah, the restructuring is going to reinvigorate the economy.
Yes, the restructuring is good for communism in China.
Yeah, it's going to greatly help the economy and
See,
empower.
the difference between the other people that come on, I actually agree with you on some of these things because I do think you come from a place where like you understand how the Chinese system works, and not
Yeah,
from like a point in where people just like get on it.
yeah. I mean, I've studied the Chinese system, so I know a few things about it. But I just think America is a different country than China. We have a different
Yeah,
culture
yeah,
and a different history here, right? So
yeah.
here we don't have a really unifying civilization here. United States basically just means we're small independent farmers or plot holders, and we have a union together, right? Where we are going to, we're going to be taxed, and then the government's going to build us infrastructure, and we'll mainly keep to ourselves, and we pile in some of our resources to help the common good, a commonwealth, right? So with communism, it's different in depending on the country. So in China, they call it socialism with Chinese characteristics, right? And that's going to be very different than a socialism with American
But there's
characteristics.
more wealth inequality in China than in the United States, right?
Yeah. Well, inequality is not the number one concern of communism. The number one concern of communism is raising the people's livelihoods, standard of living, and developing the forces of production. So it's not.
You want everybody to be equal.
No, not necessarily. No. No, Marx and Engels wrote about even how in socialism, um, formal equality would mean inequality, right? Some people can work harder than others. Some people are more skilled than others. Some people have to raise kids. Some people are in different circumstances. So equality can actually mean inequality, right? In China, everyone's equal in the sense of they try to have equal opportunity. I know it's not the case in any country, but
I think most countries, in terms of first world country, has equal opportunity. We live in 2021, not fucking 1800s.
yeah, but the issue is that in Western countries, we have these monopolies that are gatekeeping economic wealth from ordinary citizens. So it's hard for an ordinary person in America to start a business, but it's
But
much.
everybody understands that monopolies are not good, even for a capitalist.
I know, but the thing with.
Monopolies are not good at all.
I understand that, but the advantage of the Chinese system is that since the government is above everything, the government can constantly restructure the economy, clamp down on monopolies, and help start up businesses and middle ranking companies, which come
In the
from
U.S.,
the
they
people.
clamp down on monopolies too. Everybody hates monopolies. Okay,
We
even rich.
we are in no position to clamp down on any monopoly right now. Our entire government is captured and controlled by these financial and now tech monopolies.
Well, in the U.S., it's usually the Democrats who are more anti-monopoly.
In
And
in
we
words,
have the FTC, we have the FCC. They
well,
try to
the
do their best.
FCC has actually consolidated the monopolies by Comcast and AT&T and the rest of these and all the broadcasting and cable companies. So,
They're technically not monopolies.
well, we know they are. They are monopolies.
They're really big. Apple is $1 trillion company. Is Apple a monopoly?
Yeah,
I don't think you know what a monopoly means.
Apple Apple's IP laws definitely stifle competition for smaller. China didn't have any IP laws comparable to the ones that Apple has here in the US. So that for
China
that
doesn't have
reason,
IP laws because they don't have IP.
which is a beautiful thing. And I want that for America too. I don't want us to have IP. I want small business owners and up and coming startup
I
people.
mean, they do have IP, but just not as many as the
Well,
United
the
States
beauty
does.
of
So it's
China
popular.
is you have street vendors in China and you have all these markets. It's a thriving real free market that you have in many cases. People are just selling Apple parts, they're creating their own iPhones and they're selling their own and people just it grows the wealth of everyone, right? Whereas IP laws which prevent people from being able to engage in the market and have opportunities.
Me and you can start up a company right now and compete with Apple. It's not that hard,
But
dude.
Apple's IP patent laws are going to get in our way in a way
Yeah,
that
just make
it's.
another phone that doesn't look like the fucking iPhone. Then
Why the iPhone is
that's
a pretty
capitalism.
the
It's
iPhone is
supply and
a
demand.
No, I don't think so. I
People
think
want the iPhone. They don't want another phone. It's supply and demand, dude.
well,
It's
here's the
not
thing:
that
is that
hard.
iPhones are expensive, and China has many like knockoff iPhones that are more affordable to people.
Yeah, as an American, you don't need to buy an iPhone, right?
No,
You
I
can
know, but
buy there's
it's
$100, $200
yeah, I get
phones.
that, but it's about speaking as a businessman. To if I want to fill a niche of people who want to be able to have affordable, more affordable phones or something, I have a lot of IP laws and patent laws that are in my way. I'm not
IP
talking on
is unique
the
to the company.
consumer
It's
side.
not.
So from the consumer side, yeah, you can just buy shit from China. You can buy shit anywhere. But from the perspective of a person who wants to start a business, IP laws and patent laws do get in our way in ways that
I
they
mean,
don't
you
for
communists.
Chinese.
It just seems like it's so hard for you guys to become successful. I don't understand.
I
You
don't
guys
think
are
I don't think
against
that's
the
true.
system
I
because,
think
like,
in I
no, we
think
can't get there. Like, the rich people are fucking us. We can't create companies. We can't create small businesses. I can't turn my small business into a big business. Like, really?
well,
That's just a
yeah,
boomer
that's
mentality.
not it's not just me. That's ordinary Americans in general. And here's the thing: is that in China,
Well, stay ordinary then. I
listen,
don't get it.
in China, people make great business. Start. It's much easier to start a business in China than in the
Yeah,
U.S.
there are more billionaires in China.
I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I don't too.
Billionaires are not the number one concern. The number one concern is how wealth is being created, and the way wealth is created in the U.S. overwhelmingly benefits unproductive, financial, and monopoly rentier people, and not ordinary people. Now, if that byproduct of that is going to lead to some people being very, very rich, and having like yachts and mansions, I don't care. That doesn't really matter. What matters is if the people.
In the States, the companies are owned by the people. In China, the companies are owned by the government. Government is not the
So
people.
in the states,
You have to understand
the
this,
vast
dude. You
majority
have to
of
understand.
listen, the vast majority of shares that are owned by publicly traded companies are owned by a tiny minority of private capitalists. So it's just not the people who own the companies in the U.S. It's
No,
actually in China.
the company is a public company. It's owned by the people.
That doesn't mean it's owned by
100%
the people. That
equity.
means anyone can buy shares, right? That doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's owned by the people.
anybody,
But
anybody,
in China,
any
in
citizen.
China, you actually do have companies owned by the people, right? Because they have state-owned
It's
enterprises
mixed.
and they have
It's
government-owned
state-owned and
enterprises.
private. Yes.
Yeah, and that's another word for being owned by the people. It's owned in the interests of the people.
The U.S. is 100% owned by the people. China is half half.
What does owned by the people mean to you?
In the U.S., there are private companies. You can't buy or sell them in the private
But
market.
that's not owned by the people. That's owned by a tiny, tiny minority that don't
Yeah,
work in the.
but they're not politicians, are they?
But they work only for their own interests and not in the interests of the people as a whole.
I mean, China, you can do that too. So there's
Right,
nothing to argue for.
but up to a certain limit, and where your interests as a private individual conflict with the interests of the whole, you're gonna have a barrier, right?
I think,
China's
I,
economy is ultimately about working for the people. It has to work for the
but
people.
I think you have to understand that in China, the government that owns everything just pays and pockets it to the politicians, not the people, dude.
That's corruption, and Xi has
Yes.
clamped down on corruption
And I
severely.
agree that there's a corruption anywhere in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, that's an issue of corruption, and Xi has
But you
tried
know what
to.
corruption means? When business is intertwined with politics. And that's literally communism and socialism, dude.
I agree that communist states had a corruption issue. So did China. But Xi has been making efforts, especially when he first
She's a
came.
billionaire, bro.
He's not a billionaire. There's no evidence of that.
Check out the Panama Papers
The Panama Papers show
or
no
the
indicate.
Pandora Papers.
Even if those papers, which have questionable roots, are to be believed, there's no indication that Xi is a billionaire whatsoever.
I know he's rich as fuck, dude.
No, it's doubtful. He
I
is.
know some of
Xi,
it. I personally know some of his family members.
listen,
Call me Cap, dude. Call me Cap.
Xi is a man who has devoted his whole life to serving the people, serving the Chinese people. Whether he was a politician as the mayor of Forget which province, but
You can say the same for Bernie Sanders, bro.
it's not. It wouldn't be that off the mark. But the difference between Xi and Bernie is that Xi actually got stuff done, right?
I do agree that in a one-party state, you can enact policies way easier than if there are dissent.
Yeah. Did you know that
Or
the
multiple
founding
parties.
fathers of our country, the United States, did not intend for there to be multiple parties? They actually intended for there to be one party.
No.
Yeah.
Why? Who
Because
said that?
they viewed the division into parties as a form of factionalism that they thought would endanger the unity of the republic.
I mean, at least we have 4 terms, right? That's
That's
4
very
terms.
recent that we've had 4 terms, and it's because of FDR. He was so popular as a politician that after
4-year terms. 4-year terms.
yeah, that's very recent. That's
We've
very
had
very
it
recent.
since the first president.
I don't listen. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's necessary that there has to be term limits in the first place? Now, really think about it.
No, okay. Sometimes it's good for a smart person to have multiple term limits, but in the name of fairness, not really.
No, I think it's
power corrupts, dude.
it's
Ultimate power
but
corrupts.
it's not a matter of ultimate power. It's a matter of when you become a leader, you accumulate a lot of experience and wisdom, and having to constantly have a change of leaders dilutes the ability for this wisdom to be carried over in the long term.
Yeah, it could create inefficiencies if there's a new party every 4 years. That could lead to inefficiencies. Yes.
A new administration every 4 years
why
is
America's good.
yeah. I mean, we don't really have
We
a
respect
functioning
different opinions.
we don't really have a functioning working government in America to begin with.
I think the government works fine in America.
Really? It took so long to pass a very watered down milquetoast infrastructure bill.
Yeah, that's free of corruption.
That's that's
Because
not
you
true.
have senators,
Hold
you have
on.
congressmen
Wait.
that vote on the bill.
But
called voting.
those people are all bought
They don't
out.
have that in
Hold
China.
on, but all those people are bought out and in the pocket of the monopolists and the oligarchs and the rentier class, right? So I don't know how you can say that there's no corruption. Of course, it's completely corrupt.
I mean, yes, you can lobby in the United States. It's okay to donate money to
Well,
politicians.
let's call it what it actually means. It's not lobbying, it's corruption. We call it lobbying because we've made it legal, but we've made corruption legal, right? In any other country, that's what they would call corruption.
So how would a politician get a voice if they don't have money to advocate or advertise and run for president or whatever or senator?
There's multiple ways, but a more democratic
$100 in their
a
pockets?
more democratic way would be you could have a meritocratic system like in China, where the party is going to allocate its funds and resources to politicians that prove their skill and worth and perform better. Or you could have grassroots small donations like what pioneered by Bernie Sanders, where you're just going to collect money from the people that
For
support
the
you.
CCP, you kind of have to be born into it. There's a lot of hereditary things with it, by the way.
I don't know if that's necessarily true because Xi, they called him the Red Prince, but before
if you
him,
just Google most of the leaders, all their family are in high positions, dude.
yeah, I get that, but we're talking about the very, very top. And in the United
and
States,
that's what matters.
but here in the United States, at the very, very top, that's also hereditary, right? The president is not at the top in the USA. The government's not at the top in the USA. We have
How
families
is it
of
hereditary? Is there 2 family members that are?
Rockefeller
position of
and Morgan.
They're not politicians. Rockefeller
But
was not a politician.
they have more power than the president in this country.
Yes, because money talks. Yes, money is power.
It's not just money either, We have dynasties, even politically. We have barons and industrialists, monopolists. These are families that trace back hundreds of years,
You have that in every country.
But
including
those
China.
people rule our country without any accountability to the masses or to the people
What
whatsoever.
type of accountability should they take? What type of
Well, for example,
accountability?
Xi is the official leader of China. So if he screws up, that's on him. And that's on the leader of China. He's accountable to the whole people.
Yeah, that's everywhere too.
But
Yeah.
no, if Rockefeller or Morgan screw up, then they're just private individuals. They're not accountable to the
Like what
public.
type of screw up? They jaywalked
They economically screw
or
up
what?
and endanger the whole welfare of the country.
I mean, that's the beauty of private markets, right? A free market. The companies are allowed to go bankrupt when they don't make money, and the good companies make money and will become better.
What is free? What is such a free market about our monopoly rentier
You,
type of society?
the
We
U.S.
don't
is
have a
not
free
pure
market here.
capitalism. Just saying,
We don't have
there's
a
no
free
form
market.
of pure. In what way? I mean, I don't think it's 100% free market. No,
We have the rule of
you want
monopoly
to say it's
capitalism. We
99. Like, sure, it's
markets.
not
We don't have real
100%
markets in
free.
this country. So Wall Street insider trading controls the prices of
Insider
shares.
trading is illegal
I know it's legal, but it means we don't have a
or
real free
illegal.
market.
Insider trading is illegal.
Oh, but it still happens. It still happens objectively.
Yes, and if the SEC finds out, they will prosecute you for
Well,
that.
they don't find
I'm
out.
not saying it doesn't
So
happen. It
someone's
happens.
being
It's illegal.
bribed to look the other way, or they're just not doing a very good job. But yes, it does happen between hedge
I don't
funds
think
and,
the SEC is getting bribed, dude.
well, then they're just not competent. But anyway, yeah, we don't have a free market in this country. We have the rule of monopolies. We have the Federal Reserve that prints money. So we have politically controlled fiat currency. We don't. There's
Every
nothing
country
free about
prints
the
money.
market that exists in the U.S. at all.
Yeah, I think it's a hybrid. Yeah, and this system works great.
Well,
I'm
what's
not
an
saying it's
example
100%
of our
free. I agree with
country?
you, actually.
Okay, what's example of the free market here that China doesn't have?
In the U.S., we don't own the means of production. It's not. There are no state-owned enterprises.
Yeah, but it's concentrated in the hands of a very few private individuals. So what about the free market? So to me, free market means you have a level playing field for competition. People can enter the market as competitors and upset the whole thing.
Yeah, you can do that with any company in the United States.
What's an example of that?
I mean, you have to start off at zero, dude. You can't start off with like, oh,
Really,
I
because
enter the
when
market
I look at
and
the
we're
record,
competing with the
and
biggest
but
companies. No.
here's the issue: when I look at the record, and I'm looking at the Silicon Valley venture capitalists, for example, the startups, all of those people who got to the top, Elon Musk, whatever, all Apple, all of those people had some kind of mysterious government connections and insider connections with the government and with the state and with prior institutions. So I don't see an example of
You
people
can
who
say that for
started from.
China too. You can say that with any country.
But at the very least in China, even if that's true, and I'm going to hold that on a pause for a second because it's not really true. But even if we assume it's exactly true in China, at the very least, everything is tailored toward helping the people as a whole and serving the people as a whole, right? Not just people who pretend to
What they
be.
say, sure.
But here we have people who say, oh, I'm just a private individual on the free market, and yet they're using our government, corporate socialism, and socialism for the rich to benefit. So if we have socialism already for the rich, why can't we have socialism for the people? Now in China, actually, it's not true that all of the major capitalists started
I mean,
out
you
with.
have the ability to be rich too, dude.
Yeah, but you don't. You have the ability to get rich. You don't have the ability to start industries and businesses on the basis of a free market.
It doesn't start in
Competition.
a day, bro. It takes years.
So what's an example of the free market at work in the USA?
We just don't have that much government intervention compared to other countries, dude.
Did you know that you need government intervention?
I'm not saying it's 100% free. It's just a lot more free.
Well, China has a freer market than us precisely because of government intervention, which helps the little guy have a level playing field on the market. And that's why
How
China's
does it
more
help the little
competitive.
guy? What policies are helping the little
China's
guy?
markets are more competitive and more people friendly, pro people friendly. It's much easier
Not
to start a
true. I
business.
don't agree with that.
Okay, I'll give you examples. It's easier to take out a loan to start a business in China. It's easier to start a business because taxes are lower for smaller business owners in China. There's no IP laws that
Taxes
are
are higher in
there's-
China, actually.
we don't have all this bureaucracy and red tape that serves the corporation.
There's more bureaucracy in China,
Not
and taxes
not
are higher over
not
there.
no, not when it comes to starting a business.
Well, I mean, to start a business, you have to be smart, dude. Not everybody has the
That's
ability
fine.
to
That's
start it.
fine. But smart people in the U.S. are being stopped from starting businesses because of government red tape that has been formed because of regulatory capture in collaboration with monopolies. And China doesn't have that
That's not
problem.
true. What type of red tape are there?
Well, I mentioned IP laws. It's the biggest example that comes to mind. But there's also
IP is good.
there's a host of different. I can't recall them specifically to mind right now. Maybe in a second I will. But there's so many local and federal regulations that exist to protect monopolies and prevent small business owners from being able to.
I've already told you, monopolies are bad. Even Americans hate it.
Right. But
Capitalists
China
hate it
has
too.
ways of
Monopolies are not good for
China has
competition.
ways of combating monopolies that the U.S. does
The
not
US
have.
has too. You just refuse to believe it, and then you're gonna just say, "Oh yeah, they're corrupt," and they're
The
doing
U.S.
not
does
doing
not.
that.
The U.S. has a monopoly problem that China doesn't.
China has a monopoly because it's owned by the government.
What does it mean
I think
owned by
that's
the
the
government?
ultimate
The
monopoly.
government, the state-owned enterprises are the monopolies in your view?
You know, private companies, the tech companies, they also have CCP ownership. Most tech companies.
Yes, I
in China
know.
these
I
days
know. That's
are
a good
government
thing.
now.
And that's a good thing because that means those companies are going to serve the people and not the private
No,
interests.
they're not serving the people. They're serving the CCP. The CCP are not the people.
Okay, let's look at the track record. So, have the Chinese people overwhelmingly economically benefited from the policies of the CCP?
I think citizens are benefited in any country with a decent government and a stable government. We're not from fucking Afghanistan.
So
or
how okay, let me ask you a
Iraq,
better
dude.
question. Here's a better question then. How has the CCP benefited itself at the expense of the Chinese people? In what way does the CCP benefit
Because
itself?
the politicians are the one getting rich, not the people, dude. Minimum wage is $500 per month in China.
But what was it before?
Before, China wasn't even a country, dude.
So you're saying if
Or at
all
least,
the politicians,
CCP wasn't a
let me
thing.
hear you correctly. If all of the politicians, this is assuming you're correct about this, which I can't confirm. If all of the politicians emptied their wallets and distributed it among 1.4 billion people, then the Chinese people there would be an elimination of all poverty.
Yeah. But have they done
No,
that?
that's not. That's like the people
Or is
in
that
the
a
U.S.
hypothetical?
That's like the people in the U.S. who think if Elon Musk and the billionaires gave up all their money, then people would be rich, and it's not true. The truth is,
That's not true, yes.
when you're dealing with 1.4 billion
It takes
people,
trillions of dollars.
it's not. Okay, let me explain it to you like this: how many billions are in a trillion? 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have 1.4 billion Chinese people, right? So it would take $1.4 trillion a year to give every Chinese person $1,000 a year.
I mean, I've never believed in cash handouts. I don't think that's
Well, I'm just
sufficient.
telling you. Gave you an example of how is it that the CCP benefits itself at the expense of the Chinese people, and you say, well, there's a lot of poverty in China, whereas the government politicians can get rich. And I'm asking you,
State-owned
has that
enterprises,
made
the equity, the profits are not going to the people. It's not helping the people. It's not doing any greater good. It's just controlled by the government because the government wants to own it. They don't want the regular person to own it. They want the government, the party to own it. You see that's the thing with you American communists. You don't understand that politicians are not the people.
okay?
They're the ones with power.
Okay, for the last time,
You say they're trying to do the greater good for the people, but it's not
for the last
case.
time, for the last time. Do ordinary people own it in the USA?
Own what?
What do ordinary people own in the USA?
They have the ability to.
They
own
have
anything
nothing. They have
want.
nothing. And whereas ordinary people don't own this state-owned enterprises because how could they? There's only a few state-owned enterprises, and yet there's 1.4 billion people. Ordinary people have a much lower barrier to entry to being able to own property and own their own businesses and have their own means of livelihood and have their own means of production. Whereas in the U.S., private individuals do control the economy, but at the detriment and to the expense of ordinary people who are increasingly owning nothing at all. So that's the main issue here.
So you're saying private individuals are not ordinary individuals. You're just using
Absolutely
two
not. These are
vocabulary.
individuals with immense political, institutional, and economic connections. They absolutely do not
Dude,
represent ordinary people.
dude, you all just make no money and then hate on rich people.